So good afternoon, and as you know, this is the final class, so more of a conversational class. What did you like about the subject, things that attracted you, things that you use in the workplace, some of the items which were difficult to comprehend, maybe not really usable in the near future, but somewhere later. So think about all the 9 sessions that we had. Think of the book which we studied, your study material. And there was a lot of other material also given during the course of these 9 sessions. So one is this. So this is something which is important. This is a book which is good. So for people who have it, it's a good book, Learning Analytics. It's a thinking book by Mattox, from where I referred a little bit. The other places were mainly IBM and Gartner. Mainly IBM because it had a lot of insights on data analytics. So, any thoughts before we begin?
Which book you told, sir? Learning Analytics?
Learning Analytics by Mattox. I'm not sure whether you can see it very clearly, Surendraji. So it's an author called Mattox.
Sir, who is the writer, sir, for that book, Learning Analytics?
Let me write it on chat.
Sir, once more, show it on screen. We will take screenshot.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So the author is one person called Mattox. Let me write it here. And the book's name is Learning Analytics. Okay, so this is the name of the book. And yeah, I think you also co-created the class since the beginning. So I really wanted to thank you today. Not really much of a teach class, but more of a Thanksgiving that we could complete as a team, which is never easy. 10 classes going on since April, and then May was nearly a sunk month. We didn't do much. March, April, and maybe a little bit of June. I wish that we had finished this in May, but there were so many events that came in between. I'll just start with a little bit of refresh and take in any questions, and please feel free, those who are joining in now. If you wanted to know if you missed something, I think the slides will refresh. If the slides also don't refresh, you have a question, stop me immediately, ask. And I'll come to your assignment questions. You have a exam ahead on the 9th July maybe. So those questions are still not yet being made, but I'll try to help as much as I can. And feel free to ask any questions, because this is formally the last time we meet, and I really wanted to have this session with you so that nobody is left out and we may feel that we have got something out of this. Maybe one thing that you'll use in workplace or something that excites you. So that is the only, it's a practical course. It is not, one is passing an exam, definitely, getting your diploma, but the other is, if you can apply professionally in your workplace, like we have had all these discussions, and in the first few sessions, we had the luxury of your presentation. So I was very happy that this class, who is the writer of this book, so this is, I mentioned Mattox, Parsky and Hall. Let me write it. Mattox, Parsky, and so that Surendraji is the author of this book.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Okay, what did we do throughout these sessions? Pretty much, this is what we did. So I'm just sharing the screen. I made this I came there was a marriage ceremony in Chennai. So I had to go, of a colleague's daughter whom I had promised. So I came very early today morning and therefore requested Govinda to have a afternoon session so that I could be in some sort of wakefulness because it was a very hectic last week. Okay. So this is what we did. So firstly, a lot of thanks to ISTD and to the 84th batch who completed not only this course, but the other papers as well. So this was on data analytics and L&D. So how do we really use the power of data? That was the major thrust. And the first class, if you recall, was on data and its importance. And we said that data is anything that can be captured, anything that has a byte. Now there was a difference between big data and small data. So we went into terabytes, gigabytes, zettabytes, etc. So that is something we learned in the initial part when we started off in March end or early April. Now, we had the fortune of having so many people. Okay, the first day, in fact, I went overboard and I was so happy having so many of you. So on the first day, there was Urvashi, Aditi, Bhavya, Pooja, Shweta, Ritu, Ivy, Murli, Kamakshi, Sadhna, Govinda. Surendraji is here, one of those surviving people. I remember Chirag was there. Rajendra normally is a Mayur. So there were so many people, not to take names. Uh, Chetan. Now I know that this is a long haul and it's difficult to attend all Sundays, especially that the times change. So when I started, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. Later, I was brought down in the middle order, batting order. So I was no longer a Gavaskar. I became a Kapil Dev or Mahinda Ramannath or something. So I understand people have problems in joining, but the first day I tried to actually know that where are you coming from. So many of you are deeply engaged into L&D, many into HR. So the things which I could capture in the first day was mainly that what is it you want from this course, and I understood that if I can use it for training evaluation, some sort of data, some sort of metrics, what is it I could use? So some people were very focused, like Surendraji or Jyoti Kishnani or some of the names who are Guru Raj. So they knew exactly that what they wanted. Some people were freshers. All of you are not at the same plane. That is what it makes the course so beautiful because we come with different experiences. So somebody has just started out in L&D, wants to know about the subject, somebody wants to apply it. So I tried to plumb the level of all your, like Tushar is experienced and many of you. Okay, so, Lopa Mudra I met during the IFTIDO. So some of you I could meet in person, like Anil from SBI Ajmer. So many of you. I wish that all of us could attend, but I know it's physically and humanly impossible too. So I really, we started in Feb. So quite a little bit of time way back, and today is June. So hopefully your memory comes back. If you remember the first class, you had introduced yourself as a group. Some of the later part we could not. We had given you some assignments in every class. The whole idea is that you gel as a team. That was my only objective, not that, make it tougher for you and make it easier for me that give you homework. But the idea was that you as a team, there should be peer learning because I am not the Zen master, as I always claim, of data analytics in L&D. So it is important that you mix together, know from each other. So, and there must be a purpose that why are we meeting? So therefore the exercises, which was done in right earnest for the first 3 sessions. Thereafter, there was content to be covered. So what is your course objective? What is our course objective? One is the need for using data and the purpose of analytics. So if you go back to the drawing board, this is what the paper 9 talks of. understand the impact of data in business. Now, with focus in L&D. Now, this is where the challenge comes. There is so much of business without L&D. It is sometimes overwhelming for a learner like us that how much should I take about business. So don't get carried away by, let's say, examples of, putting data into sales use, putting data or analytics into marketing use. That's all good. Supply chain analytics, marketing analytics. Here we are largely onto HR analytics, and they're also in L&D analytics. So that is why I mentioned about the book. This Mattock's book, it talks mainly about learning analytics. So it is a very good, it costs around 2000 rupees. It's not very cheap, doesn't cost a 400 or 500. So I was in for a surprise when the book came to me, but it is a very good book for those who want to use it as a reference. And many of you have Agochia, the other books which is there in your, listed in your, and maybe I'll just put up that slide where all the books are there. Okay, so here is in number 2, people would get lost, that the impact of data in business is so high, so you might want to neglect L&D. So remember that all this is good if people have used data to, to scale up their business, use data to scale up sales. So these are good things. But in L&D, did this training succeed? What does success look like? So these are questions still being answered, and I want you to be that Christopher Columbus. Explore for yourself. There are people who have done before you. Okay, there's a Kirkpatrick model. If training leads to better behavior, better results, training has been effective, but many a time it is difficult to prove. So the third part came on enabling decision based on analytics. And finally, the fourth is where the course really wants to take you to. So any course you will see, whether it's a paper 1 or paper 12, bottom line is that why are we studying this? Is that can we better the training as a function? Through data, through analytics, can we make it more sharper? Now, you may challenge that without data also, we could do things, but that is not the intent of this paper. This paper says that if there are so many learners, and in your ecosystem, if there are so many courses, if there are so many handouts, if there are so many podcasts, can you not utilize these metrics to come to some sort of a data-driven figure? So therefore, the numbers, the impact of numbers, the number crunching, all this comes from because of the volume of data that we transact. Had it been qualitative, that okay, these are 5 trainings we need to do, so we need to do. This is on sales, this is on communication, this is on personal development or professional development, this is on new hire, this is on technology. So, but since we bucket, we silo, we classify, therefore the need of data, Excel sheet, I mean all the things that will follow. Otherwise, training can also just be without any measurement, but that is not the intent of this course. So just think about what you have learned for the 9 sessions, look into the slides or the PDFs or the quizzes that I gave. Maybe I'll share all the quizzes with you, whatever I did, so that you can have a look at what was the micro learning. And many of you did very well in the small quizzes that we gave. What did we do next? We did, okay, so this was module 1, data and its importance. Then we turned to big data. So big data is when it, when the data is huge, when you leave a trail of data. For example, when we go to buy, and this example is always given in big data, you go to a supermarket, so your profile is known, your credit card is known, you transact, so many data is being generated. So that becomes big data. The item which you shop, like when we go to a mall, unless you go to a, local shop and pay money and take the thing, and there's no proof or evidence. Wherever there's a proof, evidence, go to a mall, digital payment, big data starts beginning. So make no mistake, in training also, the moment we make it online, people log in. So for example, ISTD will have a plethora of data based on the so many batches of diploma that it has run. So similarly in companies, we have so many trainees, which leads us to analytics. The data in itself is a scalar. Okay, a scalar and a vector, which we learned in physics. A scalar is one which has magnitude, but doesn't have direction. But analytics will more or less hint at, okay, this data is leading or wants to say something. And we had several tools which we did: business intelligence, business analytics, operational tools like OLAP, and then we had this 8-step Cotter model. So that is something we learned in module 2. Module 3 was about the evolution of analytics, and why did this come about? It's a fairly recent subject because earlier on, statistics was the dominant faith. People used to rely on statistics, but then statistics became slightly, what would I say? It lost its relevance in a very practical corporate scenario. So statistics was good for census, for large macroeconomic events in the country like population, but to be businesslike, to use statistics to some advantage, and therefore the rise of analytics. So I'd say it was not the failure of statistics, but in a way that the inadequacy of statistics led to the rise of analytics, which is getting into patterns of data. What do you see? So analytics initially was also like statistics. It used to show a graph, a histogram, a pie chart, but then it started getting more sense because there were machines which could read data. Like in IBM, there's a Watson, which is intelligent. So analytics 3.0, things became, so you can predict. So there are 4 levels which we shall see. So typical analytical models, and finally, the technology impact in L&D. Now from module 3, if you look at the L&D starts taking picture. Okay, the L&D comes into picture. Till module 1 and 2, it talks of data analytics. So even if you are not in a training and diploma course, this is good enough for any course. It could be in marketing, it could be in supply chain, it can be in R&D. But from the 3rd module onwards, there is a reference to that. How does it help the learning function? In module 4, which I think is very important, which says that why do we need to measure L&D? Now, the reason is very clear because you have an organization called L&D. It is part of HR because you have salary for people who are trainers or training administrators or learning consultants or learning operations manager. How do you account for their salary? I mean, if I'm putting it very bluntly. So the need to measure L&D for many reasons. One is that whether your training programs click. Now that is the farthest. The basic thing is, why do I employ so many L&D people? So any company will have this, but in the course, it is postured as that, how does L&D programs help business? But if I were the CEO, my first question is, why do so many people in L&D exist? What value do they add? So this is something I did not state, but as a thinking individual, you must think that what is the net contribution to L&D in business? Like marketing has a tangible communication. It gets deals. There is a pipeline. You close some deals. You can't do some goes out to competition. In L&D, what do? We make training programs. Okay, one is to engage people, which is good. So L&D can be looked as a function that employee experience. Give them a great experience. So we hope that this experience will lead to a satisfied employee who will get on to be more enabled people who can entice clients. But it may also not happen. It can just stop with engagement. Oh, we had a great training, we had a good time. End of story. So the story needs to go beyond that, whether your programs make a difference in change in behavior. So this is a difficult area, that because of a change in behavior, there was a results. There was some result. Unlike in marketing or operations, where it's very easy to prove that I did this, so there was a 10% reduction in scrap. Or I did this, there was a 20% up in quality went up. So here also, it is perceptual, but lot has been, and therefore this subject becomes very, very important. That you are not only talking about perception, but you're proving with data. HR metrics, okay. So I didn't get into L&D first. It was about HR. So HR has so many, it's a life cycle. Many of you were into HR, and I understood when I was having a dialogue with you. So HR is when a person onboards till a person leaves the company. So that is the life cycle of HR till one is, what is the good word? I mean, taken in, or yeah, when, so if somebody is, just coming into an organization, he is getting introduced or getting selected or recruited, then his career begins. He has an induction training, he has a succession plan. Long companies which do strategic investment usually take in a company for 12 years, unless the guy decides to move away beyond. So in IBM, that was the thing. They didn't, they'll put an effort one time that I take you. So HR has a pretty long life cycle, of which one part is learning and training. So you can be in compensation benefit, you can be in succession planning, you can be in recruitment, you can be in selection, you can be in career transitions, you can be in pure HR operations, you can also be in L&D. If you are in L&D, so what are the metrics that are important for you? So in L&D, we say that for a program to be born, how is a program born? A training program is born out of a business need. So for example, your people don't talk very well. They don't speak very well. How do you know that? Because you have lost customer sales. Somebody is speaking better, so they are getting business. So business decides that we'll have communication classes, or we'll have technology classes. Our people are bad in technology, or maybe we don't have that. So a little you can attend by training, little you can scale up. But unless you have that software, that competition will always beat you. Anyway, having said that, for the moment, let's assume that everything being equal, training is the only deficiency. So a business need comes that, okay, we don't have the technology. Can we have good technology? So one program in IBM which we used to do, technology managers. There were managers, but many of them were not good at managing technology. So there could be so many courses, selling courses, speaking courses, etc. So once that business need is translated to a program will mean each day we'll have 4 classes, like Gurvinder said us. You have a class at 9, you have a class at 11, you have a class at 3, you have a class at 5, or not more than 4 in a day. Beyond that, any program, it is difficult. We can have many more, but people will only receive 4. One tablet, four times daily. Okay. So morning session, then they'll want a tea break. So you'll have to put it in modules. Then you'll have to put in slides. Then you'll have to put in handouts. Now, you cannot, let's say, give a book to a trainee and say, okay, this is all I wanted to say, please read it. So your training is over. So you'll have to make it a narrative. It has to be melodramatic. It has to have good trainers. So many areas where you could assess. Was the design pakka? Was the design foolproof? Once we designed the course, was it delivered properly? So people will give you a feedback that we didn't have any material. It was all shruti. Okay, everything word of mouth. People speak and we hear and we write notes. So maybe they make it tough for you. They don't want to, or they don't have the copyright to give you that material. So there are multiple issues. So please start assessing from the stage when a program is being born. So you are delivering. After delivery, whether the trainer was good. Okay, if the trainer was good, the content was bad, or the trainer was bad, the content was good. So you go somewhere, and etc. So it goes on. And finally, the larger question is, okay, good, bad, ugly is fine. Did the course meet its objective? So what is the objective? The objective is that our sellers don't speak well. So does the seller speak better after your training program? Maybe you have delivered a sales coach program, or you have delivered a communication program, or you have delivered employee engagement or motivation. Are you a PPA? So does the metrics show? Business metrics show. So these are all difficult questions. L&D has a set of metrics which many a time does not match with what business. And we covered this in one class, and I'll come back to it. But module 4 is very, very important because we are covering needs assessment, we are covering design of program, we are covering delivery of program, and we are covering evaluation, which is your Kirkpatrick and Jack Phillip. Okay, now data analytics in LN. Now you got so much of data. And again, we are going deeper into module 4, which is module 5. What is the L&D ROI? I mean, at the end, they want to come with this story. Now, since this is not an MBA program, there is not terribly hype that what is the ROI of L&D. Had it been an MBA program, this would have been a topic. But since it's a training and development program, a diploma program, I think it's a lot better because it makes you full rounded. It says about design, implementation, and measurement of L&D. What are the analytics you can do in learning measurements? So historically, and your population changes, demographics changes. So whoever does, the statistical analysis, that we did this program in 2017. Now between 2017 and 2022, the time has changed. It's a pre-COVID world. So I look at those feedback, which possibly they used to be much more severe. Okay, people used to give slightly lesser feedback those days in face-to-face. In online programs, you'll find feedback going up because the audience is curated. I mean, this is a general trend, and I can have a discussion on this. People generally give a good feedback on online programs. One is that you need a level of evolved self to come into online. If you're a very basic guy, then you will want face-to-face. No, I want to see the guy fresh and blunt. For those who are conversant or their work makes them conversant, online is for them. So I cannot compare pears with apples. Anyway, but if you compare, then what is the analytics that you do? What are the benefits of evaluation? Like I said, many programs need not be evaluated, which are sort of propaganda centric, like my business conduct guideline, cyber security, POSH. You have to do. Otherwise, your employment will not be validated. So people run through this and they sign. So we also did this. So even if you evaluate those programs, doesn't mean a lot, but yes, some people do it because they want to better the delivery experience. Now, for programs which are designed with a lot of care or come from your appraisals, that this employee or this group of employees, they're not aggressive enough. So this came in my life. This used to come, that can you teach them aggression? So we had a program called SWAG, okay, executive SWAG. So how much of dash do you have? So etc. Like Accenture has better dash. So, or a swag factor is high. So these are all things which come out of it, implementing L&D in your organization. So that was module 5. Then we went into tools. So we went into data governance tools, and we told about that so many types of tools and so many players are existing today. So there was one slide, I think on the 8th class, which is your module 6, on the players in data. So need for tool, and finally, at the end, statistical tools like measures of central tendency, the mean, median, and the mode, or measures of dispersive tendency like the standard deviation or range. So simple things we use, we didn't make it very complicated, but you can go to any level of complication. For your syllabus, I think sticking to that book and a fair idea that I understood whatever was taught is good enough. Excel is also a good source of analysis. We spoke about, and I'm going to module 2, we spoke about, can you reckon this picture? We saw it before. Anybody who can say who's this lady?
The great Shakuntala Devi, sir.
The great Shakuntala. Guru Raj attended this class. Okay. But even if Guru Raj didn't attend the class, he would have told the answer. So, I always remember that some people are very good in numbers. So, like this person. Guru Raj, who is this person?
This is the great mathematician Sri Ramanujam.
Very good. Srinivasan Ramanujam. Okay. So, when we do this, so for example, a producer, and this is getting into business, so they'll ask this. Which are our highest, lowest margin customers? So, for example, many customers come to you. Some take a lot of time, but they do very little business with you. Some take very little time of yours, but they do great business with you. So, who are the highest, who are the lowest margin? What products are they now buying? What product promotions have the biggest impact on revenue? For example, if you push some product, it sells. So, these are questions which can only be answered by analytics. These are, you can from experience, but then if somebody scratches a little deeper, then they'll ask for data. So this is where analytics comes in. So this was something we did very early on when we started off. Which customers are most likely to go to competition? Okay. So, for example, a trainee who doesn't give bad feedback, but doesn't give any feedback. Possibly the person is a polite person. He doesn't want to say ill about anything, but he will go to competition. So, there are some who choose to move away without making their displeasure known. So, if I'm trying to put an analogy between this picture and in a training sequence. We learned about data warehouse, so that is there in your book, that it's a single, complete and consistent store of data obtained from a variety of different sources made available to end users. So I think that document, if you can fish out, that was a good one. Somebody gave it to me, that this is the alpha and omega on data. So try using that document wherever it's necessary. We had gone into a little bit, but since it's not an IT class, we didn't go overboard. But this is how it works. So from your data warehouse architecture, if you see, there's always an extraction and cleansing. Why do we do this? Because data comes in dirty. It is not usable data. So you have to use an engine, cleanse it, run a query, and then get your reports. So, which is, these are the containers of data, if you see at the left-hand side, and the last bottom right is the output that you want. So, but in between, there's a lot of process. So people who are into IT or have a panache for, data science, they can drill more into this. We touched upon this, but didn't go very, very deep. Okay, metadata, I think. Now, we are more interested in the application. So, for example, in finance industry, they look into credit card analysis. Now, in India, as compared to US, people are slightly averse. Once upon a time, they were very much for credit card, but in the Western world, you must have a credit card because of your credit rating or solvency. And the financial jurisprudence is better. Here, credit card is seen as a, as a time bomb that I'll use it. So, for example, I had 2 or 3, I got rid of all of them. Only there's an ATM card, but many of us, I think there's only one credit card. But it's for finance, this is it. For insurance, what do we see? We see into claims and frauds. So you had done at every point, if you remember, we had given an exercise into 4 teams. So which industry's analytics would you like to see? So this was, if you remember, this was part of that. In transport, we like to see logistics management and so on. You can read. So what are the application areas in industry? Then we came into operational data. So for example, some are strategic data. But for a customer file or an account balance, you'll see these are regularly traded data. You'll need this very often. So that if you go through that, this is just an extract of that PDF, which I sent sometimes in early March, point of sale data, call record. So let's say for telecom, that is important, a call record. Okay, that becomes a very operational data. We are not looking at very hi-fi or strategic data. So some examples of operational data. Then we spoke of big data, which is not operational data. Extremely large data sets that may be analyzed computationally to reveal patterns, trends, and association relating to human behavior. So this is where human play comes in, that somebody has to interpret this. As I said, that if you do a purchase in a supermarket or you have left a trail of your credit card or ATM, so you have left a lot of data. The thing that you buy that is scanned with RFID scanner, etc. And like we do any digital purchase. So this leads us into big data. And we had also spoken about that how was data used in this movie. Can you tell me who's this hero and who's the movie?
This was the movie you recommended, sir, which I saw also. I'm unable to recall.
But who is the hero? That is fine. But very good that you remember this.
He's Brad Pitt. No?
Sorry?
He's Brad Pitt. No?
Yeah, Brad Pitt is correct.
This is a movie called Moneyball. So in Moneyball, Gururaj, if you remember,
Yes.
what he did, he used to take refuse players. For example, IPL, if you take all the players who are old, like Dhoni, Dravid, and then he used to make them play like, Kohli or... so that was the trick. I mean, he knew all the faults of the A plus players, and he used to take very cheap players, those who are over the hill.
Okay, he made use of analyst to give him data of people, how they fared. Basically, the data analyst in the movie, he joins Brad Pitt and he gives data as to how these people have performed for the past 3 to 5 years.
Correct.
And, yeah.
So you watched the movie.
Yes, sir.
Good. So this was, I mean, there are so many applications, but this movie I liked because I like this guy. I mean, Brad Pitt is acts so well. Anyway, so then we went into business analytics, the process of collating, sorting, processing, and studying business data. So business analytics is more, I mean, it's a subject which is offered in B schools or in IT. I mean, it's a traded subject. So if you will get material on it using statistical models and iterative methodologies to transform data. So from data, what is the business insight? So will people leave in the next quarter? Like I said, in HR, what does it mean? If you can predict something that, okay, so many people are joining, how many people will leave? For example, now we see the great Indian resignation. All these memes come in or some why on TV, etc. So you see so many things, but can you really predict that there'll be you can predict certain things from people's behavior. Then we came into this. There's a Gartner slide, which is famous now. And I think many of your tutors may have used this, not only for this subject, but for any other subject as well. So any good thing, the measure of a good thing is if this slide is being used by everybody. So not only does it, need to be used in data analytics, but we say descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. So prescriptive is, as of now, the highest level of analytics that you could go, that you have hindsight. So what happened is historic. So you know what has happened. Why did it happen is diagnostic. What will happen? Yes, you are slightly ahead of the curve. How can we make it happen is what the business folks try to do. For example, if this is what could happen, and therefore you find whenever you open a mobile, they take you to the place where you're searching. For example, yesterday I was in Chennai, so we were doing the live train status. So from Chennai, it was coming to Andhra, then to Orissa, then to Bengal, till it came. It came around 12 midnight at Howrah. So it was a long journey. So one of my colleagues' daughter got wed, was married in Chennai. So I could see that the moment you open it up, it only shows me Rail Yatra. Would you like more food? Would you? So it's intuitive. And similarly, if you open into anything, into Amazon, let's say you want to buy this Mattox book, they'll show you 50 other books. So that is how can we make it happen. And then this was like a paper which I sent on Analytics 3.0. So, I mean, it's slightly more advanced, not really necessary for this course, but okay. At a hindsight, if you keep, then you'll feel good that we learned something, slightly. So there's a chief analytics officer now, a CAO, and so the 10 requirements for capitalizing on Analytics 3.0. So these are some of the prescriptions given in leading companies that this is what you should do if you want to say that you are a Analytics 3.0 company. Okay. Now, as I said, why I put in this slide is one example where you did group work. So this is also important because you will collaborate during the exam, after the exam. I mean, as a team, as a diploma group 84. So keep connected. So we gave this exercise to all of you. You did it well, supply chain finance. And I remember Guru Raj used to present. So many of the presenters are no longer there with us because, I mean, time takes a hit. But for those who did this very, sincerely, like Rajinder and Chirag, I mean, we had made those groups, and you gave a presentation that what is to analytics, using analytics to boost business. And it could be on marketing. I had kept it open. So think about in marketing, how could analytics be used? In supply chain, what? So if I say that what could be done in analytics, the first thing is, what are the key metrics? So for example, in supply chain, what is the key metric? Time to deliver something to the supplier or the customer, or whether the thing goes by road, rail, air, or pipeline, or let's say your vendor capability, vendor performance. So logistics is a huge big subject. Now we call it supply chain. We cannot call it logistics anymore. Similarly, for finance, there will be so many metrics which are important. For operations, so many metrics. For HR, yes, obviously, attrition, recruitment rate, cost of recruitment, etc. Till you come to HR or L&D, that learning effectiveness, number of programs. So the moment you have a metric, you can build a storyline, because people cannot see data in isolation. They need a narrative. Therefore, analytics fulfills that purpose. Okay, so this was something which we did. How many cigarette butts are snuffed out daily at Chembur, Andheri, Paddington, Connaught Circus, Basant Nagar, Park Street, Commercial Street, Begumpet? Okay. Why we did this is so that you can make assumptions, because you cannot answer this question without making assumptions. So how many people smoke in that gender? How many people in the male gender do they smoke more than the other one, etc. So there are so many. What is the population? So the moment I'm doing this, I'm making some hypothesis and I'm coming to some sort of a conclusion or a recommendation. So here are the 8 steps, which actually steps from, if you have to answer now do not keep it as a, a question like this, frame it into a business question. That is step 1, which quarters in the book it's given, that frame a business question. If I say that how many people smoked or threw away butts, that is not a business question. The business question possibly would be, how does it have an impact on health and what is the impact on dollars or something. Now, if you cannot put the question in that way, it remains, a sort of a standalone. Then build hypothesis, then gather data. So this is at stage 3. How many cigarette butts? That will come much later, but you need to frame the larger question at step 1. Then you conduct an analysis, then you reveal insights that these are the patterns which I find, and therefore these are the recommendations which we do. And then get your point across. So if it's to a client, he will say, no, I don't agree to your data. I have my own conclusion. So some discussion happens. But in the absence of any viewpoint from your end, you might be embarrassed that what is the homework that you did. And therefore, data and a little bit of this 8-step becomes very, very important. And if the client is good, if he goes by you, he says, okay, so I like this data, Rajendra, Surendra, and Gururaj. We will buy this idea. So please start implementing. So that is the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is the person to whom you sell this story, he doesn't agree. But at least you have a starting point. Okay, so this was one slide which we used earlier, that what you could get out of analytics. Okay. So for example, these are business questions. If you look at the bottom person, or how is our hiring profile related to our growth objective? For example, if your company has a vision saying that we'll grow 20% in the next 3 years, or whatever it says, or we'll go 5 territories, but are you taking in the right type of people? Or are you taking in people who might leave, people who might, so normally you would expect that younger people be taken because they'll stick on for a little more period than a lateral hire who can easily switch. I mean, somebody who's very mobile. What is our most important job, family? Do we have the right leaders? Okay, these are tough questions. If you ask that who do we have the right leaders in place, you need to be a leader yourself. But anyway, I'm taking this as a valid question. So these are examples of business questions, and what you get is, okay, so one-time project, cloud service. So this is talent analytics solutions and how you can use them. And there are 3 sort of key headers that less than 20% of organizations are able to apply predictive to address important people issue. 40% limited to basic HR reporting, which really happens because you don't have the time or luxury to go beyond firefighting. So that is why people can only do that much. Okay, 50% of the companies find difficulty in reporting. Coming to what we did, common reasons for measurement. Training effectiveness, determine areas of improvement. So why do we measure training programs? Is because one is, okay, the program was good or bad. Second is, which are the areas which could have been better. Third is whether to retire this program forever or to stay with it for some more time, and to conduct needs assessment, and also to maintain compliance. So some programs, like I said, like POSH or cybersecurity, are mainly compliance driven. You have to do it because there's a diktat from the very top. Rationale and need for evaluation. Okay, one is the money and the effort. The more important thing is the time. Okay, in today's parlance, I think time is more important than money. Okay, money is important, but time is possibly more important. So whether the time was worth it. Maybe you made a program with so much of pain and care, but then it didn't really hit on, or maybe it's too early. The timing was not right. So do you want to continue or discontinue? Do you want to make improvements if you want to continue? What are the metrics? Okay, these are some standard metrics. Training expense per employee, satisfaction with training. Now we are too, hyped with all this. Okay, satisfaction. People are happy, so I'm happy. Training hours per full-time employee, external vendor. Okay, how much we paying a software vendor? How much we paying license fee? How much we are paying, to vendors who charge us a bomb, etc. So L&D costs. So we measure all this. Now, what business leaders want, and this is one class, I think a few classes back where I mentioned, that business leaders are not really, they don't want all this. They want that, can we have application of new skills? They want movement, that can you put the guy on this job? That will be their question. They'll not say, okay, your program was 97% satisfaction. Great, great. So that is for the learning leader to say that, okay, I saved my skill. But for a business leader, he'll say, okay, good. So can this job get into this role tomorrow? If yes, then he is happy. To what degree a learning initiative improve a specific business outcome? And finally, we ask the ROI question that, okay, we spent so much of money over the last 1 year. What is the value we get? So And therefore, we use an ADDIE model to do this. So many of you have heard it from other tutors in ISTD as well. So it's about analysis, it's about design, development, pretty much what I was saying, the phases of training. Analysis means you are customizing the program from business, making it into a learning initiative. Then design is you are making number of classes, number of hours, what will you give, what will you not give, something as a handout, something online, some case study ahead, some post-course reading material, etc. Development is related with design, same color. Implementation is about delivery. So some people are good tutors, some people understand that how it is to be delivered, etc. So there are good coaches, light touch coaches, good facilitators, and finally you evaluate whether it has made the cut with the learners. Evaluation at 4 stages, whether you liked it. Second is, was there any learning from it? Third is there some change in behavior? Fourth is, does the company gain as a result of what you did? And therefore, we have Kirkpatrick. And this is much more severe, where they actually do a calculation of ROI. So they do a costing of training. In costing of training, so many things would come in. Cost of trainer, cost of time, cost of material, cost of rental, classroom, LCD projector, everything. Okay, if it's a face-to-face, if it's a online, then you know whether it's do you have given any Zoom fee, some license, breakout features, etc. So if you use online tool, what are the cost components? Main is the time, because you are making that person unbillable for that amount of time. You are drawing him into training, and that is what is into ROI. Jack Phillip is slightly more acceptable because it makes it easier. Kirkpatrick, Jack Phillip is slightly difficult in the sense that you can show an ROI, you can show a number, but whether the number really sells is a question mark. You can make a ROI, but then somebody may say that, okay, I don't really buy this number. Anyway, but we have our things in place. Then we did something on data management, which was 8th class. So this is what I was talking about, that who are the major players here? So we saw so many players, including plethora of American players largely, but I think every nation has, you don't only need an Atacama or an IBM or, an Accenture or people who are into it. There are so many other players. So data quality, master data management. So these are areas where one could go. And some tools or some players are also given in the study material. So here are the number of players. As you can see that many players are playing into master data management, in data governance, in data privacy. I think one question was also there in your assignment. So, and it's a overlapping area. People are playing in many areas, but some are slightly more ahead of the curve or they want to specialize. Finally, we learned, because there was a mention about LMS. So, and many of you asked me questions that why is LMS necessary? It's necessary because one is documentation. Otherwise, you will have to do Excel sheets. So every enrollment, everything can be done in LMS, hosting a course, giving you a percentage, scoring you if there's an exam. So it is a good platform, delivery of courses. So there are so many LMS you could choose from, makes up the largest segment of the learning market. Finally, we went into statistics. So from a program, let's say if I find that so many people passed off, so many people's performance was positively correlated with training hours or training spent. So the diagram shows that people, this shows a happy state, but sometimes diagrams also befool us. So be careful. Like here it says that removing a single data point would change that slope from line B to line A. So apparently line B looks much more, the gradient is more, so more performance happening with training, but the reality could be line A. So these are, side thoughts, but one must be good with a little bit of statistical tools. So I really wanted to thank you, and stop here because I've spoken for nearly 1 hour, which is a lot of talk, but your questions, your thoughts, anything that you'd like to at this point in time.
Thank you very much,
Surendraji, I
sir.
can see. Surendraji, I can see you today. So very good. You are off your camera. Please tell me.
Sir, just want to know about any best example if you can share as far as utilization of data analytics in L&D is concerned.
Okay, Tushar, can you repeat the question one more time in the exam?
You want me to repeat the question of the assignment?
No. Just the question that you raised.
Okay. Just I want to know about any better example where this data analytics is utilized in L&T in a better way for decision making, or the use of data analytics was to the highest extent.
Okay, I think the best example, Tushar, is that in L&D, if you want to have more budgets, I mean, at the end, I'm just speaking business. So all the learning leaders, they would use this data to get their budgets more than what they get last year. So they will say that, we had done so many hours of training, we involved so many people, so many tutors, so many trainees. So if that is a business case, then the bosses will also think, okay, they really need an increase in training budgets. So that is one example where you could really put data to use to enhance your budgets. The other is if you want to do something on content, let's say you want some collaboration, because if you get a feedback, again, feedback driven data. So people are saying that, okay, this was a good program, but the content should be from the original equipment manufacturer. Let's say, I'm just giving a situation. So sometimes a bad feedback also can be an advantage to you to ask something from the management. So I'm looking at both the good side. If the going is good, ask for more budgets. If the going is not too good, then you have to be creative that what is that area where I really need to, come to a decision. So is it good content? Is it about good logistics or whatever? So usually content is a question mark. I mean, many people say that, okay, you gave me something, but I really couldn't use it. So we give a lot of material during programs. You will see that people leave it on the table and they go away. I have seen this many times. So which means that they don't value it. So after you see all these books kept on the table, so are they really valuing it, or can it be given in a different way? So for example, you give it in a soft copy, or give it after a quiz. So, I mean, these are my initial thoughts that how can you use data is, one is basically what learning leaders do is to enhance their learning budgets. Because at the end, people want to expand their territory. So they'll say that, look, I did this, next year I'll do larger. So, but fine tuning you can do. Like I said, content creation, maybe more technology. For example, now in today's world, you want hybrid classes. This is pure online. So if let's say I came to a class in Gurvinder's Delhi office and you logged in, many of the classrooms are not ready for hybrid, though we are saying hybrid. So these are cases where you can build a business case with data, saying that had I a hybrid situation, I could have done so many things. So I would answer your question, Tushar, in that way.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Got a lot of insights. Thank you so
and
much.
Tushar, where will you work out of which place?
I am in Ashok Leyland, Pantanagar plant in Uttarakhand, sir.
Okay. So what is your business problem? I mean, why did you ask this question?
No, I wanted to just know because use of analytics in L&T is not utilized to that extent. Normally, we are able to manage data with the help of Maximum Excel and all. So I thought that is there any organization who has utilized all higher level of analytical tools and all. But I have done my training in advanced problem solving and not in L&T, but I have done my advanced problem projects for improving first pass in 9-speed gearbox, and at the same time for reducing first speed injuries of our temporary manpower, which was once upon a time a challenge for the organization. But not utilize these analytics to that extent for L&T. So I was interested to know, is there a better example or any organizations who have utilized this analytics in a better way?
So without, I get you. So without getting into names, I think if you start with an LMS, okay, LMS system is something if you consider Ashok Leyland to do, then a lot
LMS
of you have
LMS.
You have an LMS.
Yes. Since last 4-5 years, we have LMS. A lot of Coursera, then your LinkedIn. We have got a very good focus as far as L&T is concerned in our organization. Even I was the first learner of this Coursera as far as my organization.
Okay. Excellent to know. And I think, I mean, if you want to benchmark with companies, maybe just take up, consent from, if you are in, let's say, Ashok Leyland. So I know Telco does it very well. So, but Telco may be your competitor, but they do data crunching. So think about things and definitely, I mean, get to me offline, because, if you want to do something from Ashok Leyland, so maybe we could have a separate conversation.
Some calls were coming and disturbing calls there. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Tushar. Surendraji, I think you were saying something or somebody else?
Yeah. Sir, actually, I was asking that learning and training analytics, whatever the previous year this paper name was there, same thing is renamed as now data analytics in T&D. Correct, sir?
Yeah, I
Earlier
don't
the
know
name
about
was-
last year, but I think what you're saying is right.
I
have
think
not
this year
seen-
only they are changed.
They have changed the name. Okay.
Earlier it was learning or training analytics.
Okay.
So it is same, syllabus is same, or any changes done so from previous
No,
year?
changes has been done. This has been rewritten. So this
Yeah.
is a Dr. Joshi question. This is not a Rahul Bose question, but what I know is, because I overlooked the paper 11, or the one which you have a tutor, Tina Chakrabarti.
Yes,
So,
yes, sir.
So this course, I mean, because I was part of that revision, and similarly here, if you look into your book, so there will be a person, let me find out. So guidelines to, I think there was one person who wrote this course.
Radhakrishna, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. Dr.
So this was
Radhakrishnan.
Radhakrishnan. So similarly in paper 11, so I know that this has been rewritten. So it's not the same course as was delivered last year. That is to your point, because many new things have come in. They must have put in a lot of importance on analytics. Otherwise, it would have started from Kirkpatrick. Okay, I mean, there was no harm in just saying that, okay, let's cut out the chase, let's come to training effectiveness and what are the measures or statistics we can. Because I remember in the earlier avatar, there used to be a session on report writing, which has been done away with. There used to be something on statistical tools, which has now become into analytical tools. So there has been changes to your question.
Okay. In the module 6, there are some questions on statistics, like on correlation, regression model. Okay, calculating correlation coefficient, that kind of question are asked. I don't think so. They will be asking in exam, right, sir?
No, these are for practice. I mean, regression, it's not asked in the main exam, but it's good to know because, at every, for example, you're doing that module 6. So in statistics, correlation and regression is definitely a chapter. But will it come in a must way in your question? It will not come in this way. So maybe It will come in a way, for example, you are having so much of training. So in a case study, if they give a case study and they say that so much of training has happened, and here is the productivity which has gone up or down. So what are the logical conclusions, deductions, or you can make? So if you have to answer that question, then that funda comes into use. So these are applied, I mean, I got your question. So these will be application questions.
Okay.
But I'm happy that you went through every page of the book and that, you asked this. Anything else, Guru Raj? Sorry, Surendraji.
Right now, this much only, sir.
Okay, for the moment, this much. Anyone else? Archana Chauhan. I can see a very few people, and I know it's Sunday afternoon. Guru Raj, any comments? Anything? You have been since the beginning. Or Rajendra, I can also see he's also been a long time, and I can see one VG, PC, and Kumawat ji, Chirag Chawla. Please feel free because we'll be closing in 20 minutes from now. So any thoughts, any interactions would be great. Any queries, anything that like they ask very specific questions, Tushar and our friend Surendra. So if there's anything that's bothering you, please tell me.
Sir, I just want to thank you. It has been all the sessions that you conducted have been very valuable. You have given very valuable information, created interest in this subject. So I just want to thank you. From now onwards, it's up to us now how we, gather more information, read a lot, and use it in our organization for the betterment.
Thank you so much, Guru Raj. I'm really touched that you came on camera and that are you in Bangalore today?
Yes, sir, I'm in Bangalore.
You're in Bangalore. So you have been since the beginning. So I'm very, very thankful that you found this of use. This was not an easy course, as you know. I mean, but I tried to sort of, include you into activities, into making it slightly more popular. In a way, Gurvinder used to give me a little bit of caution that don't trivialize it. So, but to that I risked it, but because if people don't open up, the subject also doesn't open up. So, and in the process, we learned something. It is not too complicated, but yes, it's a deep subject. So do keep all the collaterals that I sent over in a folder. Just study it back. Many of it will not be used for your exams, but some part will be some use somewhere. Somebody will ask a question, then maybe, okay, I learned this there. So, and also the book that has been given to you, I think these would be the treasures that you keep. An exam is a matter of drill, it will come and go. So, not to worry too much about it.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Guru Raj. Sampatji, you have opened your camera, so I guess you wanted to say something. So if you can come on mute, then it's on.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Practically speaking, this course has helped me a lot. Actually, I am in the L&D profession from last at least 12 years, more than 12 years. But at very fag end, I'm doing this course because I'm not in now in charge of that function in my organization. I have been elevated and I'm in charge of whole HR and admin function. But now I have that authority. I have that position where I can make a difference by using all these things which were not used in the past. That too, in all that, data analytics is one of the major, very important thing which was not used to the extent where we can impress the business leaders. Now we have already started. So my successor in the function, I will make sure that he succeeds all the time in all the cases, in case of all the programs, that she gets satisfaction of achieving the real outcomes which business leaders are interested in. So the real application of this program will be done to achieve the business results also. And I'm very much thankful to you because the way you taught us the analytics was very easy to understand, was very most of the examples, or all the examples I can say, were most relevant to our functions. And the experimentation which initially done about making a groups, doing group activity, preparing presentation, presenting in groups, all those things have helped personally me a lot. Others may also, but I have got in results and enjoyed the application part of it also at my company. So I am truly grateful to you and ISTD as well, since I am getting the fruits of it, and I will be multiplying these fruits by doing many things uh, as an application of this total diploma. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sampatji. And which is the place you are working? If you can just, because now you are leading the HR.
Yes,
And
I am in Pune. Company name is Hitachi Astemo Phi Private Limited. Earlier it was Kehin Phi Private Limited. From last 2 years, we are in the transition phase. Kehin Corporation has been merged into Hitachi Astemo, and Astemo is world's global mega supplier in auto component industry. Without Hitachi, without Astemo brand, there can be no vehicle on the road. So it's a huge, and it is in every area of automobile.
excellent. So I'm really very happy that if I could make some difference, because now you are taking on an expanded role.
Yes.
So this role, this data and how business leaders will take a decision is something that, your successor obviously will do,
Yes.
training person, but it is, as you rightly pointed out, it's a slightly more higher order subject, if I were to say.
Yeah.
And therefore, maybe they changed the name of this subject, which Surendraji asked. So maybe it looked slightly more plain, but the moment you say that analytics, how can you take a better decision? And there is an operational level decision which an operational level person can take, but you as an HR leader definitely can influence. And at any time, if you feel any need, you have my number, you have ISTD, please
Sure.
do. And I wish that you said something very heartwarming, that the examples, or the way we did it. I mean, as I said, I tried experimenting, but then I knew it was impossible. 57, 60 people, because the presentations used to go on so passionately for 1 hour, then the teaching time is half an hour. But that is the result of that people want to express themselves. So, but thank you so much, Sampatji.
I'll wholeheartedly endorse that these sessions were really, really very easy to understand, and very, very, very made relevant to our functions. It was a very nice and interesting thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, myself Surendra Kumar.
Yes, Surendraji.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Please continue.
Sir, thank you very much for 1 minute, sir. Sir, I was benefited a lot from this course, and I like this style of teaching, sir. You always motivate us to involve, and the style of involving everybody and taking away. It's a very good, sir. I have learned this quality from you. As a trainer, I will apply this quality. So, how to take along with all the participants, how to motivate them to participate in the learning process. So thank you very much, sir.
Excellent. Kumavatji, where are you now? I mean,
Sir, I am posted in LIC of India and at Mumbai, sir. It's
Bombay.
a training center.
So please use this in LIC Bombay. Okay, take people along with you, because training is a function which is sort of a celebration. So if people feel that I'm part of it, they would like to contribute. And okay, there's a content which has to be delivered. So there may be one master or one tutor. But to make that happen, you need to create that climate. So, and I really liked your feedback that you like this involvement, but I'm very happy. Kumavatji, and anytime, please feel free to drop me a line or send a mail. So Gurvinder will share my coordinates, and
Definitely.
it was so nice having you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank
And
you.
you have been since the beginning. I remember the first class
Yes,
you were there.
yes, sir.
And the last class also, you made it a point to be there.
Most of the classes I have attended, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Any final comments before we sort of wrap it up?
It's a Thanksgiving, sir.
It's a Thanksgiving from Surendra.
Yeah, so from the day one, we have enjoyed your classes very nicely, sir. You have given us opportunity to work in teams and made ready for presentations. We have given a lot of presentations, and because of that, we studied a lot, because to present even 4 slides, we have to prepare multiple data, and then we got a good opportunities. And you have taught us very well all the topics. It is in very simple and understandable method you have taught us. It was great exposure. You have given a great insight to us, sir. And definitely we will be using in our day-to-day life. This is an upcoming emerging field using analytics in L&D.
Yeah, this subject is very, Surendraji, as you said, in Bharat Electronics, you can use this.
Yeah.
Many of the things, I mean, can be done by Excel sheet, but certain things, if you can, get a software, things that we spoke of, certain things, and therefore we used Cognos or Brio or Crystal reporting, if I remember in IBM. So just have a word with the management, and I think they'll be progressive. So the moment you change reporting, do a little bit of dashboarding, people will see results. So
yes,
I think there's a lot which can be done, and a serious, serious professional as you are, you can definitely make a lot of changes in Bharat Electronics, which is, and next time in Bangalore, definitely, I'll make it a point to meet you.
yes, sir.
That time was very, I had something to come back. So, but good to have spoken with you. And you have, been, I'm missing your partners who made the presentation.
Yes, yes.
Many of them are not there today, but I can understand.
Guru Rajji was there, and one of the presenters, Guru Rajji, one my teammate, Rajendra Kumar, Rajendra Pandey ji,
Ritu ji.
Ritu ji,
Ritu ma'am,
Ritu ma'am,
Aruna, one of the
Aruna
presenters,
ma'am.
Aruna ma'am. Yeah.
Those were so kindly give my regards to them. I know people must have been busy, but Surendraji, it was so good having such a good team. And do keep up the good work. And even if nobody is there, now you become the tutor. You become Rahul Bose. Okay, now
Yes.
I am now over. Now the baton passes over, and all of you will do very well in the exam. Don't worry too much. Just do that whatever you think that is right for the job in this area. I think that is the biggest reward I seek.
Yes, sir.
Any final comments before we close?